Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. We're here to speak about an important issue. As we hear DHS and their operations, particularly ICE operations across America, we are deeply concerned that they are unjustifiably and illegally targeting DACA recipients. Many of you know who DACA recipients are. They're folks that came here, and they are, for one thing, that paper, they're Americans, and some of them are nurses and teachers and homeowners and small business owners, and they contribute tremendously to our economy. And yet, DHS is wrongfully targeting them. Data shows that hundreds of Dreamers are detained and deported. This is information that we got from a report. In 2 response letters to Congress, DHS reported that 86 DACA recipients and 174 DACA applicants have been deported. So it's not just the recipients, but applicants as well. Those that may be eligible to apply are also subject to deportation. And more than 260 DACA recipients have been detained. And so this is deeply troubling. However, the agency provided also conflicting numbers to the House and the Senate. So we are concerned about the numbers themselves. It could be even higher than that. DACA recipients undergo rigorous background checks every 2 years. So in addition to being nurses and teachers and homeowners and small business owners, every 2 years they have to go through these very exhausting background checks, and that they uphold themselves to that kind of transparency and accountability. Congress must protect Dreamers. We must protect them. Debemos de proteger a los soñadores. Y estamos aquí porque el Departamento de Seguridad Nacional y ICE están persiguiendo injustamente, arrestando y deteniendo a los soñadores a un nivel altísimo, y estamos aquí para objetar esa práctica. Es por esas prácticas que actualmente le estamos negando los fondos a ICE. It is because of these practices that we are denying the funds to ICE. And you know, we'll be taking up different initiatives where we feel that other agencies within DHS should get funded, but not ICE, while it's still continuing to do these dastardly acts, right? So we're concerned about this. We're here to denounce that, and we're here to hear from some of our colleagues and individuals that have been impacted directly by this action. And first, I want to bring up Juliana Macedo de Nacimiento with the Home is Here Coalition for some remarks.
Good afternoon, and thank you to the CHC Chair, Adriano Espaillat, and all of the other Congress members who will be speaking today. My name is Juliana Macedo do Nascimento, and I serve as Deputy Director of Advocacy and Campaigns for United We Dream. We are the largest immigrant youth-led grassroots network in the country. We are also co-chairs of the Home is Here campaign, a coalition brought together to defend and protect immigrant youth and DACA recipients, and I am also a DACA recipient. Last year, because we heard directly from our communities about the detention and deportations of DACA recipients and immigrant youth, we launched our Home is Here tracker, collecting this evidence to bring more urgency to the matter. We've worked with congressional champions like Representative Sylvia Garcia to send inquiries to DHS, which finally got responses just last month. The responses revealed the detention of over 270 DACA recipients and the deportation of over 86 beneficiaries and 174 DACA applicants. The detention and deportation of DACA recipients is unacceptable, unconscionable, and a betrayal of the promises made by the U.S. government when immigrant youth trusted their information, their persons, and their families to DHS. DACA is a lawful program that does provide legal protection from detention and deportation, which has been reaffirmed time after time by the courts for over 14 years. We are demanding answers on why DHS continues to unlawfully detain and deport DACA recipients, and we urge Congress to demand DHS stop this practice and resume honoring the promises made not only to DACA recipients, but TPS holders, asylum seekers, and refugees. People like Damari's mother, Maria, who was deported within 24 hours of being taken, and Jean Carlos Fiallos, a father of two and husband from Miami, who has been detained since May last year. He was taken in a targeted operation at his mother's house as he dropped off his kids for the day. He was transferred across the country to New Mexico, prohibiting visits from his family. His DACA renewal was approved while he was in detention. DHS cannot simply detain people indefinitely. This is part of a larger pattern of trying to end DACA. Since January of 2025, the federal administration has taken unprecedented steps to chip away at the DACA program amidst a wider and violent pattern of mass raids and targeting, detaining and killing immigrant communities and our communities nationwide. There is no overstating that we are living through the most dangerous moment in DACA's 14-year history, a moment that demands decisive congressional action to protect our communities and ensure stability and safety for our country. Ultimately, we know that the American people want DACA recipients and immigrant youth at large to be protected and given a pathway to citizenship. We call on all members of Congress to use all of their power to pass the Dream and Promise Act to permanently protect immigrant youth, TPS holders, and others. Thank you again, and now I want to introduce Damaris, who came all the way from Sacramento to speak with us.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. My name is Damaris, and I am Maria Estrada's daughter. Right now, I feel like I'm grieving my mother, even though she's still alive. My mom came to the United States when she was just 15 years old. For almost 30 years, this country has been her home. It's where she built her life, where she worked hard every single day, and where she raised me. Everything I am today is because of her. My mom is a DACA recipient. She followed the rules. She renewed her status. She worked. She paid taxes. She showed up to every appointment the government asked her to attend. My mother was unlawfully deported. She believed that if she did everything right, she would finally have stability here. But instead of stability, she was taken away. My mom went to a green card appointment, something that was supposed to be a step forward for our family. Instead, she was arrested and deported in less than 24 hours. She had and has active DACA. Just like that, my life changed overnight. One day I had my mom, the next day she was gone. And the truth is, I'm still trying to understand how something like this can happen in a country that talks so much about fairness and justice. My mom didn't hurt anyone. She showed up because she believed in the promise that if you follow the rules, things will work out. Instead, that trust was used against her. Now I wake up every day in Sacramento without my mom. I go through life pretending to be strong. But the truth is, I feel like a piece of my life has been ripped away. No daughter should have to live like this. No family should have to be torn apart like this. My mom worked her whole life so I could have opportunities that she never had. Every sacrifice she made, every long shift, every struggle was for me. And now, the person who taught me what love, sacrifice, and strength look like is thousands of miles away. So today, I'm not just speaking as a daughter who misses her mom. I'm speaking as someone who is angry. Angry that families like mine are treated as disposable. Angry that a system that promised protection instead tore my family apart, and hundreds of thousands of others. The United States has broken its promise to protect DACA recipients, TPS holders, asylum seekers, refugees, and so many others. But more than anything, I'm here because I love my mom, and I refuse to stay silent while she was forced to live in another country, separated from the life she built and the daughter she raised. My mom belongs at home. She belongs in Sacramento. She belongs with her family. And all we are asking for is what is right. Thank you.
Thank you, Damaris. Thank you for your courage. We now have with us from the Democratic Women's Caucus, Andrea Salinas.
Thank you, Chair Espaillat, and thank you to Congresswoman Leger Fernandez and the Democratic Women's Caucus and all the caucuses representing today. And thank you to everyone joining us. And I just want to start by saying I'm sorry. I am sorry to the DACA recipients and the dreamers who have been betrayed by this cruel administration and Donald Trump. On the campaign trail, Donald Trump told the American people that he was going to go after the worst of the worst. He lied. Over the past year, we've watched as he has terrorized our communities, violated the Constitution, and spread fear and chaos. He's not targeting criminals and gang members. He's targeting dreamers, children who were brought to the United States by their parents with hopes for a brighter future. Just like my dad was brought to the United States with his family in 1950. And today, we're speaking out against this cruel administration. Standing up for dreamers is not just an immigration issue. It's a constitutional issue. It's a woman's issue. It's a moral issue. More than a third of DACA recipients are women. They're madres, hijas, our mothers, daughters, college graduates, nurses, teachers, business owners. They are the fabric of our communities. They're the backbones, like the ones I represent in Oregon's 6th District. And when we allow this administration to tear them from their families without any due process, we are not making anyone safer. We're breaking a promise this country made to the DACA recipients that they would never be targets for deportation. And the facts are clear. DHS's own data shows that more than 260 DACA recipients have been detained, and as was stated before, at least 86 DACA recipients and 174 DACA applicants have already been deported. These are young people who came forward in good faith, provided their information to the federal government, knowing that it could be risky, and passed rigorous background checks every 2 years to maintain their status. They followed all the rules, and they are still being targeted by Trump. Every year, dreamers must reapply for employment authorization through U.S. Citizens and Immigration Services. Historically, this has not been a problem, but now Trump is making each DACA recipient go through extensive background checks, no matter how long they've been in the U.S. On top of that, because of DOJ's cuts to the federal government, USCIS is understaffed and the delays are piling up. As a result, dreamers are not able to get the work authorization in a timely manner and are losing their jobs. In my district, one of my constituents, a dreamer, lost their job with the Oregon School Employee Association, not because they did anything wrong, but because of Trump's administrative roadblocks. He is attacking dreamers at every opportunity, and we are worse off because of it. What message does it send to those who are trying to play by the rules, who are trying to live and work here legally and who want to contribute to their community. It tells them that our system will not protect them, that nobody has their back. That hurts their communities, it hurts my community, and it hurts me. As the Democratic Women's Caucus, we know immigration policy is women's policy. When dreamers are detained or deported, families are torn apart, and the burden falls heavily on women and children. Dreamers register with the federal government. They pass those background checks. They follow the rules of this country. Using their compliant behavior to target them is a complete betrayal of trust. Dreamers deserve the due process they've been promised. They deserve dignity, and they deserve permanent protections under the law. Today, we stand with dreamers, their families, and their communities that rely on them. And we call on Congress and our colleagues to finally deliver the permanent protections that our dreamers deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. And now we're going to hear from the Congressional Black Caucus, Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan.
Thank you, Chair Espaillat. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us here today. I'm Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan, parliamentarian in the Congressional Black Caucus and a representative of Virginia's 4th Congressional District. And on behalf of the CBC, who are members of the African diaspora, some of whom came by choice and some by force, I want to thank my Democratic colleagues for their leadership and for standing here this afternoon in defense of our communities, particularly our immigrant communities, and the rule of law. We are gathered here today because once again, our immigrant communities face uncertainty and trauma from the Trump administration under their mass deportation detention agenda. The Trump administration has wreaked havoc and unleashed a campaign of terror across our country that has created a public safety crisis. In my district and beyond, lawful permanent residents and citizens have been detained when showing up at courthouses and in other public spaces, or on their way to school, or on their way to the doctor, on their way to work. And over 40 people have died in custody or at the hands of agents of the Department of Homeland Security. ICE and Border Patrol agents are out of control and continue to roam our streets, causing a public safety crisis and trampling on constitutional rights. The American people have made clear that they do not want this administration and its out-of-control agents to continue to operate with impunity. Under pressure from congressional Democrats, the Department of Homeland Security has finally confirmed that at least 174 applicants under the DACA program have been deported since the start of the second Trump administration. Right now, families who have lived, worked, and contributed to this country for years must now question whether the promises made by our government and the ideals upon which our nation was founded still mean anything for anybody. The DACA program represents a commitment from the United States to young people who grew up in this country and stepped forward in good faith. When that commitment is undermined, it undermines the trust built by law enforcement in our institutions and sends a signal to millions who believe that following the rules and contributing to this country would be honored. The Trump administration has shown a blatant disregard for the rule of law and its continued efforts to target immigrant communities with cruel and divisive policies. And while claiming that they are targeting those with criminal backgrounds, the department has not provided any evidence that those who have been deported have committed or even been charged with any serious crime. In fact, DACA recipients must pass comprehensive background checks every 2 years to renew their status, as you have heard. DACA recipients are students, workers, caregivers, community leaders, taxpayers who contribute to the strength and vitality of this nation. They deserve fairness, dignity, and due process under the law as they were promised under our Constitution. When dreamers are detained or deported, families and communities are torn apart, destabilized, traumatized, and shaken even further in these vulnerable groups. The Trump administration cannot claim to stand for law and order while going against the promises our government has made and the values our country strives to embody. We must pass reforms that rein in the out-of-control Department of Homeland Security, ICE, and Border Patrol. And until that happens, we will continue to demand transparency, conduct oversight, and work to pass common sense accountability measures. Our message today is simple. We stand with dreamers. We stand with immigrant families, and we will continue to fight to ensure that the promises made by the United States are promises kept. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now we're going to hear from our chair emeritus from the CAPAC, Congresswoman Judy Chu.
Hello, I'm Congressmember Judy Chu, Chair Emerita of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, and I represent a Los Angeles County district in California. I'm proud to stand with my colleagues today to condemn Donald Trump's vile, shameful targeting of dreamers and DACA recipients across this country. These young people grew up here. They went to school here. They built their lives here, and this is their home. But the Trump administration has spent the past year waging war on all immigrants, including those who have legal status like DACA. Donald Trump needs a scapegoat to justify his authoritarianism and distract from his policy disasters. And that's why ICE has arrested 261 DACA recipients since Trump took office. One of those arrests happened in my district in Temple City, and it's one of the worst stories that I've heard. 32-year-old Javier Diaz-Santana has called Los Angeles home since he was just 5 years old. For the past 5 years, he worked at a car wash in Temple City, in my district, using the work authorization he received through DACA. Javier also happens to be deaf. Last summer, ICE agents stormed into his workplace and arrested him. Javier tried desperately to communicate that he was deaf and that he was here legally, but ICE agents took his wallet, his only form of proof of his DACA status, and took his phone, which was his only way to communicate with the masked officers surrounding him. And then the unthinkable happened. Javier was kidnapped by ICE agents and relocated to a detention center in El Paso, Texas, thousands of miles away from his home and his family. And things only got worse while he was detained. For weeks, Javier was denied his legal right to speak with his attorney and was denied an interpreter. The facility he was detained in didn't have any of the devices needed to accommodate someone with hearing disabilities. He was even given paperwork in Spanish, despite the fact that he cannot read it. Weeks later, Javier was finally released. But when I demanded answers from Kristi Noem on Javier's illegal and inhumane treatment, we received no answer, no accountability, no justice. And while months of pressure from Congress and the public forced Noem's firing, this administration targeting of dreamers has not stopped. Javier is just one of hundreds of DACA recipients who've been illegally detained and in some cases deported. That's injustice, and we will not stand for it. These are young people who followed the rules, passed background checks, and stepped forward in good faith to participate in a program that was created by the United States government. Instead of honoring that promise, this administration is tearing it apart. And that's why we must pass my bill, the American Dream and Promise Act of 2025, to finally provide a pathway to citizenship for more than 2 million dreamers, temporary protected status, and deferred enforcement departure status holders. People like Javier and AANHBI dreamers like Teresa Lee. And by the way, I want to talk about the power and the potential of dreamers. Teresa Lee was the very first dreamer whose story inspired Senator Dick Durbin to sponsor the first DREAM Act legislation. Teresa was brought to the U.S. when she was just 2 years old. She was a child prodigy at the piano, but in high school, when she went out to fill out an application to the music conservatory, she found out she was undocumented. Today, Teresa holds a doctorate of musical arts and teaches at the Manhattan School of Music. So, that shows indeed the power and potential of Dreamers. Dreamers are not criminals. They are students, teachers, workers, and neighbors who contribute to the country every single day. We will not stop fighting to protect all of our immigrant communities, and we will not stop fighting against Trump's ruthless anti-immigrant authoritarianism. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Emeritus Judy Chu. Again, the facts are alarming. DHS reports that 86 DACA recipients and 174 applicants have been already deported, and more than 260 DACA recipients have been detained. Reportan que 86 recipientes de DACA y 174 aplicantes han sido deportados, mientras que 260 recipientes han sido detenidos. Questions? ¿Preguntas? Going once, going twice.
¿Se sabe cuántos quedan detenidos?
No tenemos esos datos. Los datos están un poco confundidos y estamos tratando de aceptar unos datos más reales y más precisos.
Congresswoman Esbion, quick question. When DACA was first introduced, or over time, it did have some support from Republicans in Congress. Notably, Lindsey Graham was a fan of the program when it was first announced. Like, what does it say about the current moment to see the divisions about whether this program should even still exist in Congress?
Well, this should be a bipartisan program. The Dream and Promise Act should be supported bipartisanly. DACAs are not Democrats or Republicans. They're young people for the most part that are contributing to America, and they live in all the states. They reside in all the states of the Union. So this should be a bipartisan effort. I think it should be a bipartisan effort also to stop ICE from inflicting this kind of fear and hurt on them. That is precisely why the funding is being held. So as we move forward to negotiate changes, these are the types of changes that we want to see. That ICE doesn't continue to pound on Dreamers, arrest them, detain them, deport them. We want, obviously, the Dream and Promise Act to be passed, but in practical terms, in everyday terms, we want ICE not to continue to conduct itself in this manner.
Do you have any confidence that if Senator Mark Wayne Bolin is confirmed as the next DHS Secretary, that he would be willing to discuss and potentially enact some of these reforms?
I am always optimistic.
Recuerden un poquito sobre eso. Usted dice que por esta razón y por otras no han aprobado ciertos fondos. Amplíen un poquito sobre eso en español.
Esto es parte de la problemática, por las razones por cual, que hay muchas, pero entre muchas, esta es una que nos da en la cara, ¿verdad? Cómo ICE está deportando a 86 recipientes de DACA y 174 aplicantes, personas que estaban dentro del marco de la ley para poder accesar al programa, y ha detenido 260 Dreamers. Por esta agresividad y su accionar, que yo lo puedo categorizar como ilegal, es que precisamente le estamos negando los fondos a ICE. Y no queremos que las otras agencias también dentro del DHS sean afectadas. Hay otras que no merecen recibir los fondos, pero ICE se está comportando de manera agresiva e ilegal.
De los casos que han visto de deportaciones de Dreamers, ¿qué les dicen las estadísticas? Es decir, la mayoría tiene deportaciones según DHS pendientes, o tienen algún, digamos, altercado por la ley. Okay.
No hay ninguna evidencia que dice eso. Es todo lo contrario. Lo que te podemos decir es que ellos nunca han cometido un delito, porque cada 2 años tienen que reportarse a la agencia y tienen que atravesar a través de un proceso muy minucioso y fuerte para determinar que todavía están dentro del marco de la ley. De manera que esto es un accionar indebido, yo lo categorizo como ilegal y debe de parar. Thank you, gracias.